Talk Radio 1210 WPHT special presentation.
It's the end of the world.
Hey, Nero, let's put a trigger warning on trigger warnings.
I gotta take it on the other side.
No more Phillies, Anthony. We are not at the stadium this time around, but we are back with the other side, Dan Borowski, Anthony DiRenzo, just hanging out on a, what's tonight? Tuesday. It's Halloween. Halloween. You don't look like you're dressed like anything, Anthony. Why didn't you dress up tonight?
Yeah, I should have dressed up as, I don't know, the ghost of playoffs past after what we're dealing with after the Phillies. But no, yeah, I mean, at least we have some candy. I picked up some candy at the store, which candy, have you even checked? It's ridiculous how much candy it is now.
Biden inflation.
I was gonna buy a bag. I mean, luckily nobody's like, I'm in an apartment building. Nobody's really walking around. I didn't know what to expect, but
yeah, not many kids walking in my neighborhood either.
Yeah. That's shock.
Fred Flintstone, bad each other thought that they were supposed to start the stream. Why are we late, Anthony? I'm moving. I'm in the process of moving, everybody. I apologize. I've gotten a place in Deptford, so I'm getting out of Port Richmond, getting out of Philadelphia, heading over the bridge to New Jersey, and I'm exhausted, so I apologize as we get things started here. I was moving all yesterday. I'm taking a break today. I was moving all weekend. Tomorrow I'm going to be painting and all that fun. But a lot has happened, man. A lot has gone down. Looks like World War III might be starting. Yemen today, the leader of Yemen with the whole Israel thing announced that they're going to be entering into the war. And the thing with Yemen, they're led by a group that's very close with Iran. So this is like the first step possibly to the next World War, World War III, involving Israel, Gaza Strip, everything like that. Anthony, first, let's start on a serious note. I apologize, but we'll have some fun here in a second. I just want your thoughts as a producer. We're covering this pretty closely. I got to watch all this coverage of Israel and stuff, and it's absolutely tragic what's happening. But what are your thoughts on the situation?
I mean, I will say generally I get very frustrated with how people talk about it and how people put sides to it. I think this story is one, I mean, when you look at conflicts, it probably is the conflict the world has known for decades on decades. I mean, not even decades, centuries on centuries at this point. It's a conflict it's a conflict that's never going to go away. And I think the way that it is portrayed, and we continually see it portrayed, where, I mean, in a sense, it's just the people in power who continually put the people at the bottom, the normal people, at risk constantly, and their lives are at risk, and they lose family members, whether it be voluntarily in the war, or they're drafted into the war, or even worse, they're just taken totally innocently, just trying to live their lives. And I think that entire crux of this issue, where at the end of the day, we're all victims, and people are out there, whether it's, the protesters speaking up for Palestine that we see, or if it's the recent support for the Jewish community that we've seen, which I think we should support all people, but obviously now it's terrorists, which are Hamas at this point, and it's it's just unfortunate to see the herd mentality continue to play out and win out, the same way that we kind of discussed on a national level.
The reason why I ask you that is, and I hate to start off so deep, but Michael Pelka, after the show today, we were hot off the Yemen thing. This is at like 3 o'clock, and Pelka's like, Dan, you ready to get drafted? And it didn't come to my mind, but if we have to run into another world war, man, there's a realistic possibility. Do you think there's a possibility that we could have another draft here in the country? And if so, you're in the age, would you be concerned to be drafted?
Nobody would listen to that. Nobody would listen. And I think the problem is, as much as I even love my country, first of all, like, I'm not in any sort of place to do that. But at the same time, even say that you try to force people, I just don't think people don't care enough. People don't want to put their lives at risk for something. And I mean, to be totally frank, I don't blame them, because why would you want to fight for, why are we It's just something I feel like we all. I just don't know. When are we going to learn? I guess, for
Yeah.
lack of a better term, when are we going to learn from a situation like this? And people, all right. I mean, dude, people are watching Netflix, ordering Grubhub, sitting on their iPhones, eating McDonald's. Like, you want to send them to war? I mean, come on. It's
Well, that's the thing. Is
especially
like
now
I
with
look at the I
drones
look at the
and
college
all
kids out
that.
there, and that's where I'm going with this whole thing. Is how the hell did our generation get so damn brainwashed into being out there tearing down signs of missing people and shit like that? It's excuse my language. I guess we can curse. It's just infuriating, man, to see the kind of stuff like asking for genocide out of the Penn campus. But I don't know. Let's put it aside. It's a horrible situation. I would just hate to do a podcast where we don't talk about it because it is such a big story with so many people, with so many families that are involved. I know some people who have family over in Israel and living in this area with such a Jewish population. And one thing I did notice on a light note, went to go get my vape stuff the other day, and my vape shop has straight up weed now. Not even kidding. Like they like nugs of weed, and it's not like the CBD weed that like the fake stuff sprayed with it. So I guess in the farm bill, Biden and the Democrats snuck in. So what they did is they snuck in the legalization of the distribution of THCA, which is tetrahybrid, whatever carb, the THC word acid. So it's an acid form of THC, which is before it hits a flame. Once you hit THCA with a flame, it becomes legitimate THC, and you would know. I don't know, actually, no comment. But when you imbibe marijuana, what you do is you light a flame to that marijuana to smoke it. So essentially, by legalizing the distribution of THCA, you can go into a vape shop in Philadelphia right now and find Farm Bill compliant THCA marijuana that's being sold over the counter. Did you know about this?
To me, that's so shocking with all the regulations and rules they try to put on all this stuff for that to just be snuck in there and find an easy way for little like vape shops and places that sell, I don't know, God knows what at a gas station, and they're selling that. I'm just surprised with how the government works that was even something they pushed out. But I mean, I know what you're saying because I have seen more and more. I mean, there's a ton of just random smoke shops that have been popping up all over that. I mean, a lot of them seem, to your point, unregulated in that sense.
The marijuana regulators are pissed off about this. They're asking for like a lot of regulations because with this comes so Delta 9 is a form of THC. So Delta 8 is like a lab made, Delta 10 is a lab made. That's what you'll see in the vape shop. The Delta 9 is like the real thing. What they're getting away with is they're combining the potency of Delta 9 with THCA to create a very potent flower, selling that, and it's crazy to think, but yeah, you can go get it. So with all these new head shops, these vape shops, all of a sudden selling marijuana, those that waited so long to get the regulations are like, well, what the hell, man? Why are they able to sell weed while we're here, left holding the bag? So I don't know. Would you go to a vape shop and buy some weed?
I don't know. That sketches me out a little bit. I mean, I guess people buy it off the street anyway, but I guess that's the like blessing and the curse that comes with government and government regulation and stuff like this. It makes people feel more comfortable. It makes them feel like that something is safe to use. On the other hand, I'm sure people are saving money using these other routes. But to your point, I mean, I don't know how they would even reverse track on something like that at this point because it is just so out there. Unless you went store to store and just enforced, or prohibited sales of things like that. But I don't know. It's a weird state where we're at in that sense of because of the federal illegal nature of it, but with all this other, whether it was medical now to recreational, it's so confusing.
Where are you at with marijuana? Like you're okay with just legalized recreational everything?
It should be legalized fully. I mean, of course, the government wants to be involved as much as possible, which is why this is just a confusing situation. But yeah, I mean, it's just let people do what they want to do. So in my eyes, it's the same thing as drinking. It's that you got to let people be responsible. They're going to do it if they want to do it. I don't know. It's just not something that we should be focused on when making government decisions.
Dom mentioned that like the people want it in New Jersey, so why isn't it there? That's his kind of phrase of it. I'm all for it. The thing is that I'm concerned about is the instant you can get in a car, drive. How do you test for it? You know.
Mhm.
So, but no comment. Glass houses, as they often say. Trending conservative SNL. This past weekend had a comedian from Tennessee that was all like he led off talking about the state fair. First skit was about cultural appropriation and not the kind of jokes you'd expect. And then Fran Drescher got like she was targeted, the SAG-AFTRA union. Do you think SNL may be moving into a more conservative direction here? Is it just trying to bring back a certain kind of audience? Do you still watch the show at all?
I turn it on when I have a reason to, which I guess shows that I don't watch it a lot. I mean, there are times where there's a headline or a guest or, a story that makes me want to tune in. But to your point, it isn't what it was. It isn't the show that we all grew up knowing what SNL and people aspire to watch or to be on or, this like base level skit comedy that everyone enjoyed. And I think it's honestly gotten to the point where like Tim Butterly's I Think You Should Leave, which is on Netflix, or even Shane Gillis, who I talk about a lot. He works with they do Gillian Keefe skits and they do comedy skits with a bunch of comedians that are up and coming. Well, at this point, they're not even up. They're pretty established at this point. But regardless, I think stuff like that shows how. I mean, SNL has a platform. Everyone already knows what it is. If SNL, they don't even need. To your point, are they becoming conservative? Okay, sure. But at the same time, that's not conservative. That's them actually going back to being funny again instead of like playing this political.
Can you be
little,
woke
like,
and funny? Is it possible? Like you watch a lot of comedy specials. I'm sure you come across a woke comedian. Have you ever just like laughed at a woke comedian, or are they just unfunny?
I mean, I don't even think they really exist. I
Yeah,
mean, other than like an Amy Schumer, someone who's like
yeah, that's what I'm
now,
thinking of.
or,
Amy
or like
Schumer,
a
or
Stephen Colbert, like these people who they get to that point where they need to like live in that space. Nobody starts in comedy like that. Nobody does because you can't. I mean, those people are just so unrelatable, and that in the way that the quote unquote woke kind of thing is framed. But that's why you're also seeing like right wing comedians like Rob Schneider, who was also always like never political, always just like down the middle, just
yeah,
funny
this guy
guy.
Basinski Kincaid always writes audio grifters. I saw Miss Evil Herb. If there's a grifter, that would be Rob Schneider. It's like the
That's
definition of Rob.
but that's exactly my point. So on the other hand of those things, now we have these people on the right who are just like complaining about Fauci and calling it comedy. And that's as much as I mean, he was great in a lot of what he's done. But I think to your point, it's created this little like political comedy ring where in a sense like we should be making fun of everyone. Like I don't care who you listen to, every stand-up comedian should be making fun of literally every single politician. All at once. That's the whole point of comedy. It's not to sit there and like pick sides and be like, oh, this one was better than that one, and like that's just straight up not the point of comedy. And to your point, if they go after like Fran Drescher unions, if they're more willing to go after Kamala, more willing to go after Biden, like if they're less partisan and stop playing like, oh, what would MSNBC like? Like if the writers stop thinking like that, absolutely, the show could get to an amazing. I am all for
What is
that.
the
I would love
mindset
if
of
they
the
did that.
writers? Like, who are they trying to appeal to? I guess the very vocal, small internet community that loves that kind of crap.
There's a small community that still watches the show. I think that's partially part of it, and then like, I mean, they do have a pretty diverse. Like, if they're touting it's the most diverse cast that SNL's ever had. They have people who are openly gay and lesbian and diverse, whatever. But I think that you can't just like emphasize that. I think the beauty of, I mean, both of us are from the Northeast. I feel like especially me being around Philly and New York and even Boston at times. I think up here you really do find that sense of like different communities and different cultures and a lot of people kind of ending up working together in communities together that you wouldn't necessarily think would be together. And I think that's a beautiful thing when it's done right. But when something like SNL is sitting there and taking political angles on stories and then just advertising, this is our most diverse cast we've ever had, like, it doesn't sound genuine. It just sounds
No.
like you're just throwing something in our face and hoping that we bow down to you. So I mean, I
That's the
just
thing
hope
that
they
annoys
get
me
out
is
of
it's
that.
just it's so like do as we say or else, and that's like where I've gotten with the whole mentality of, I don't know, the politicalness, especially coming from SNL. And I watch Saturday night at 11:30 p.m. The last thing I want to do is, go deep into some kind of political ideation.
Exactly.
It's very, very
You should,
annoying.
if they're gonna talk politics, it has to be funny.
I
It
do
can't
suggest
be. It can't be what it is now. It can't be.
I do suggest this guy though, like his stuff. I had to rewind it and call Maisie into the room because his monologue was great. Nate Bargatze, have you seen his Netflix special?
I've heard of him. I didn't watch it yet, but I have heard his name.
It's really good. So, what are you watching? What's going on in the DiRenzo household?
I've been bouncing around watching. I've been trying to get into obviously Halloween stuff. So I watched some of the new American Horror Story with Kim Kardashian, and that is just all over the place. All over the place.
Dude, I used to love. Are you an American Horror Story fan? Like going back?
I mean, I love the show in general. It's just I feel like it's at a point where it's just like this. They're trying to just play into pop culture now. They're not really a horror show anymore. I mean, even though it was.
It started
horror,
with Hotel,
I mean,
season 5, right?
Yeah.
Hotel.
Yeah.
Is that
the one with
people
Lady
say,
Gaga?
Yeah, because people say like
Yeah.
Freak Show is where it started, but I really like Freak Show. I think it's probably because I'm so in love with the Mutter Museum, and it's kind of a callback to the Mutter Museum to a degree. Rest in peace, Mutter Museum. But Ryan Murphy, man, those first couple of seasons were some of the best television I've ever seen, and then it just took a complete nosedive. Like I remember the ridiculous scenes that were playing out in Apocalypse, and I was like, "What the hell's going on?" There's like witchcraft going on here. There's end times being talked about. Twisted Metal.
So I was watching all of those, and that's just, I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. I was just trying to get into some Halloween stuff.
Twisted Metal on Peacock, or it's Paramount, whatever it's on. I've been watching one of those P channels.
I think it's Peacock. I think you're right.
It's good. It's really good. I think I mentioned it last time. I've watched a couple more episodes. I love the B-movie corny nature of it. But speaking of like B-movie corny nature, Taylor Swift's concert film that was killing in the box office was finally usurped. It was passed. 40 million opening weekend for Five Nights at Freddy's, based on the video game, which I've never played. My nephews are obsessed with it. Like they've plushies of it, toys. Yeah, so explain what the hell goes on. What's the synopsis here?
It's essentially starts off as just this innocent little game with bears, and all of a sudden, as Freddy's playing along, the power goes off and the bears turn evil, and the story plays out. And I only casually played the game in college here and there when my friends would be playing it in the living room. But the movie really did look interesting. Daniel, I know, our other producer, went and saw it, and he's a big Five Nights at Freddy's guy. He said he was a little disappointed, but I think a lot of people who are really into the game also expect a lot. It's just like when like a Marvel nerd sees a movie and they're just not happy with it because there's like X, Y, and Z wasn't portrayed correctly. And so, I think it looks promising. I don't think it's going to be, that for people looking for a Halloween movie, I think that doesn't necessarily fit the bill. There's a lot of people I think that just want to go see a scary movie. These next week, last weekend and this weekend coming up. I don't know if they're going to want to see that. There's a lot of people I think that wouldn't be open-minded enough to seeing it. But I think I am going to go see it this weekend, so I'll let you know.
What I was Googling there is I wanted to verify, it's the second highest video game opening behind Super Mario Brothers, which obviously it's not going to be.
It's going to keep happening. Zelda will be, I think Zelda is going to be a huge movie thing eventually. It doesn't, that's not confirmed, but there's countless. Assassin's Creed, I believe there's some sort of show coming out about that. There's going to be Halo 1.
Surprised there's not something already. Assassin's Creed seems like a easy, series to do. Like going through history, having those historical figures and all. Halo, you're right. That series sucked. Like it started off.
I didn't watch it, but everyone hated it. I didn't even watch it because everyone just said dope.
I watched a couple episodes. Like I was obsessed with the games. I love the soundtrack, everything about Halo. It's just I don't recommend it. It doesn't really follow the storyline that's already out there in the universe. So
yeah. But other than that, lately I would say I've also watched The Fall of House Usher on Netflix, which is tied to The Haunting of Hill House, which I didn't finish it yet, but to your point about series falling off and scary series, makes me feel like that one is like this is a little too much. They should have just stopped doing it. Honestly, I don't hate it. I like there's a big tie into big pharma, which is a kind of interesting angle, and they kind of frame it like the Sacklers in a sense, and then like add horror to it. It's a little weird, but it was kind of worth the watch just because I am familiar with some of the characters in it, but not really my cup of tea at the end of the day.
It's a take on Poe. I don't know if I've ever seen a good take on Poe, like on film or TV. But it's 90% Rotten Tomatoes, I think. I was going to check it out, but you do suggest or you don't suggest that one?
I mean, if you like the series, I wouldn't suggest against it. It's just, I guess I was expecting more. It seems very predictable to me, but I guess I have to see the end of it to really think if I know what's going to happen. But I mean, it's something I kept watching. Like the episodes ended, I was like, I wanted to see what happens next. So I can't. Yeah, I couldn't have hated it that much.
The Eras tour, did Mary ever drag you over to that?
I didn't go. I was actually, unfortunately, maybe I would have had more fun at the Eras tour concert movie experience because I was at the Eagles Jets game with my Jets fans cousins who that was absolutely brutal. It's depressing as is.
Loud New
York,
Yorkers screaming in your face as the Eagles are losing. It must have been fantastic.
I mean, we were embellishing in the beginning. We really were. We were doing like JETS, suck, doing the Eagle stuff. Well, like we were getting into it, and they thought we were nuts. But the second they have like a hint of a possible win, they woke up eventually. It's like waking up Sleeping Beauty. But regardless, maybe I would have had more fun. I've seen some theaters that were just absolutely like nuts during the show, like just running around dancing. Yeah, just running around dancing, screaming. There's one of them all just like running in a circle like a cult, and I was like, yeah, they're never gonna like escape the cult allegations. But
they're nuts, man.
I think, but it's cool. I mean, it is cool, especially for a lot of people who can't afford to see the concert and the community around it. I mean, why do we love the Eagles? Why do we love sports? It's that like community and that relatability. And, I think that's why the NFL is so obsessed with Taylor Swift. Because if Taylor Swift is now like,
the Chiefs are undefeated with her in the press box.
Yeah, they love that storyline. They love that storyline. It's
Kelsey's
like
doubling his stats every time she's in up there. I tried convincing Dom, like Maisie's somewhat a Swiftie too. And I know there's like a political angle to it, but you got to admit, like it's kind of nice when he has a little twinkle in his eye every time he looks up at her. It's kind of like Jim and Pam.
No, I mean, I don't know. Your thing is just get over it if you don't want to see it. Nick Kale keeps complaining about it on our morning show. If you don't want to see it, man, just turn off the Chiefs game. You'll occasionally see it sometimes, like on ESPN or
no, you don't occasionally. I disagree because if you're watching Red Zone. Like even on Red Zone, it like goes back. It's like, oh, in case you missed it, they showed Taylor Swift in the Chiefs game. It's like, no, I want to watch the next touchdown. Like I don't want to watch.
Well, the NFL wants all those women, dude. If all those women start buying jerseys and tickets, and oh my god, they want that. They want that. We might hate it, but they look at it as just an opportunity. That's all it is to them.
Did you hear Travis on Jason's spot? Well, it's their podcast together. But did you hear him talking about the Taylor Swift situation? And Travis kind of like. Almost sound like he was over it to a degree. He's like annoyed with the coverage that he's getting.
Well, he's sick of how much everyone talks about it because he has to constantly answer questions. It's just enough. Like they're dating, we all get it. Like, and I think they even to an extent because they were talking about there's a new Christmas album coming out, like they released last year, and people were murmuring that Taylor's on it, but I don't think she is. I mean, that would break they're already gonna sell out. Last year they sold out. This year it'll sell out probably quicker. And oh my god, if Taylor's on that,
Taylor Swift
that would
featured
break
on the
internet.
Eagles Christmas album.
That would be crazy.
Are they doing like a Kelsey Brothers album or another Eagles?
Yeah, no, Travis will be on it, but I think he's only on one song. So that's why everyone's like, "Oh, Taylor will be too." But they pretty much said that Taylor's not on it maybe next year, but maybe they're just saying that because they don't want anyone to think.
Did you see
she's on it.
Killers of the Flower Moon?
No, but I absolutely need to see that. Looks awesome. I hear only good things about it.
Yeah, allegedly DiCaprio's best role, one of Scorsese's best films. I want to check that one out.
Checks out. Not enough people talk about movies like that when they come out. That is film. That is way better than any Marvel movie. And to me, I mean, I'm someone who likes seeing those action movies in theaters, but I think something like this, get out there, go see it. This is, I mean, cinema, just like Oppenheimer. That's even though I know you're a hater of Oppenheimer, we can get into that.
It's not that I hate it; it's just underwhelmed by it. It wasn't what I expected. I was whelmed. Totally whelmed.
But this isn't streaming or movies, but I do want to mention this. New Spider-Man 2 came out on PS5. Oh my god, dude. These video games might be it's so good. It's so good. And video games, when it comes to like solo RPGs, I really do think video games might be the future of like storytelling. I mean, I shouldn't say they might be. They are the future with all the different decisions you can make and the interactive nature of
It's crazy
it.
how like
I don't know,
adaptive
I
it
think-
is too. Like the thing that really like I would nerd it out over in the first Spider-Man was the adaptive music, the adaptive soundtrack.
Yeah.
And like as an audio nerd, it just sounds so dweeby, but it like as you're moving around in the city, the soundtrack changes and adjusts to like how fast you're moving, and it'll pick up the tempo. It's really cool. Hold on. I don't know if I want to read this. Yeah, no, it works. I can see it now. Taylor is a meat grinder. Every bad breakup, bam, a new song. All the bad breakups have one thing in common: her. Jeez, man. There's a lot of like anger. Anger. I see why the Swifties get so defensive over the girl.
There's a lot. It's too much animosity and anger. I would say.
I'm
I
loving
don't.
it.
I mean,
Mango
do
Mush
I
is
love?
great.
Trust me. This is someone who has forced to listen to this stuff like more often than I'd like to. But at the
Does
same
Mary do
time,
the same? Does she do the same crap that Maisie does, where she'll be like, "Turn on Taylor Swift radio" to Alexa, and it's just one song after another,
oh
just
my
Taylor
God,
Swift.
I know. It's like I can't with the one artist. I always tell her,
Right.
but then it's like she rotates like 4 artists, and they're all equally annoying.
I got
So, it's just-
lambasted early on in my Dom career for saying that multiple hours of Frank Sinatra is a lot, because after 4 or 5 Sinatra songs, it kind of all just starts sounding the same.
Yeah. You can't say that on Talk Radio 1210 with
I know.
the home
This
of the sound of
Absolute
Sinatra.
freaking legend, rest in peace, and Mark. But I said that stupidly, not realizing the implications of what I said. And I felt very bad about the way I might have disrespected Mr. Mark there, because he is quite the legend. All right, on sports, we moved James Harden, get Rocco, one of the Morris brothers. What I like about this is, first off, we get 2 first-round picks out of it, right? A second-round pick as well. But Rocco and Morris are known as being, and I think you can vouch for this, 2 of the most gritty players, and they're still on the team, right? There haven't been any other moves, like Rocco and Marcus Morris. We got them.
Yeah, no, that's where we are right now. I know there are rumors that Maury's going to try to package that to get a different guard. I don't really know who you can get right now, especially with a package like that. I'm not saying that they're bad players, but I almost feel like, especially now after the Jimmy Butler thing, after Ben Simmons, and now after Harden, especially with a young star like Maxey, just keep going. Lean into this depth. You have Covington back. I mean, that's like process full circle. I know he loves the city. The city will embrace him. Morris is another guy who's familiar with the city. And just go from there. If we have some forward depth, if we're physical, if we get back to that brand of basketball, which I know, Embiid can cater to, and if we get if we just get Maxey to start.
There's no way that we're
going to
win with Embiid as our only star. Like, I don't want to be that guy, but he's a star, but he's not a superstar yet. He's not a big name. Who's going to be the third? Tobias? Kelly Oubre? Like,
yeah, I mean, Kelly Oubre does look good, but can he take on a role like that? That's the question. I don't.
What I do like
you would hope you're not putting that much on him. But
what I see with this trade is Nick Nurse, like going back to his Raptors days, is he's always been a coach that he likes to have some veteran leadership in the locker room in hopes that his younger players can mold that. I remember the way Kyle Lowry took OG Anunoby under his wing. That was definitely a Nick Nurse kind of move. And Kyle Lowry is that Philly kind of grit, obviously being from the city. So now you have, I feel like he's purposely looking for a player like a Rocco, like a Marcus Morris that he can bring in. You have Embiid, who's known to falter in his motivation from time to time. I think these guys kind of set the stage for a locker room in which the young guys, the Maxies, the Oubre, well, Oubre's not young anymore, is he? He's like 28. Those guys, you put them in the locker room. I feel like you're kind of creating that environment where the same reason you brought in PJ Tucker, but then you had Harden who kind of distracted him, I feel. But now you have these guys who will create the environment where you die for balls, you go all out throughout the season, you bring your best game for the playoffs. I really like what Nick Nurse is doing, and I like how the trade stands right now. I fear that we don't have that third piece that's needed to make any moves far in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, can we get past the second round in the playoffs right now? No. But I mean, what is the goal line now? And do I want a finals? Absolutely. But the way that they operate, I mean, hopefully Nick Nurse can create a culture where whoever it is would want to come here and hopefully win a title. I don't think Embiid's ever going to go anywhere, as much as people always bring that up, especially in tough times like what he's dealt with Harden. I am dead inside as a Sixers fan, just to put it simply. But
it's been a long ride, a very tumultuous and turbulent ride. Like a lot of highs.
I just think our biggest hope is Maxey just developing at a faster rate than we would have thought, and hopefully he can get us to a high. And then Nick Nurse coaching at a good level, getting a locker room that isn't toxic the way it was under Doc at times.
Who would it be then? Zach LaVine? I would like LaVine. I like LaVine a lot. I just fear his injuries.
I like Zach LaVine. I would definitely try to pull the trigger on someone like him. Again, especially now at this point, and with the assets they're trying to get rid of, it's going to be tough. I mean, LaVine's probably best case scenario. Someone like that.
Another winger that would be good in this locker room, and because he has experience, Nick Nurse, and I already mentioned his name, but now he's a veteran himself, and I have some allegiance to him because he's an IU grad, but OG Anunoby being talked about. So I'd like to have him. He's kind of fallen off to a degree. Didn't become the star that many had hoped when he was, bustling out as a rookie and second-year player. But I'd love to see it. All right, so before we head out, I got one question for you. There's been last week, it went viral. Ashton Kutcher was on Dak Shepard and Kristen Bell's podcast, Mila Kunis, and they're talking about raising children. And it came out that Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis only bathe their children when the child is visibly dirty. And it could be every week to week and a half.
Oh, God.
And I don't know. Is that weird? You're not a parent. I'm not a parent. Dom says 3 times a week, maybe. But I don't know. Is that something you readily admit? So I shower 2 times a day. I'm freaking weird with it. Is there anything weird is that weird that I shower that much? I'm obsessed with being clean.
That's a lot. I mean, I know you don't necessarily go to the gym that much either.
No, it's not like I'm going to the gym and then coming home and going to the shower. No.
Yeah. I mean, I do twice a day sometimes. I try to time out my workouts with, getting home and showering so I can do less. I'm conscious of it. I try to do, because it's bad for your skin and bad for your hair if you're doing that all the time.
Dude, my skin
you can't
has been
use
perfect for years. It's amazing.
I have sensitive
See?
skin, so that's a whole nother. We can't get into that. That'll be an entire
Yeah.
hour conversation. But this whole trend of like natural dirtiness is almost like cleanliness. It's like it's almost like woke. You know how you were talking about, that's like the new, just all these weird like natural things that, oh, who can go the longest without like washing their kid and saying that they're like preserving
Gross.
water, or that they're, yeah, it's disgusting. It's absolutely,
Have you ever
your kids
tried
out there
using like
eating with their
the
hand.
like hippie deodorant?
I actually, now this is something we can really get into. Antiperspirant is bad for you. It doesn't, it makes you stop sweating. And I've always sworn by just regular deodorant because I can't get over like how sweaty I get if I don't use regular deodorant. But also if I use like that weird gel deodorant, I'd always have issues, but whatever. Now I'm getting into my own personal stuff. But regardless, I use now no free plugs, but this native brand that I've been trying.
No, it does.
It's
I think I tried
awesome.
it, dude. It lasts for like an hour and a half, and then you start stinking.
No, but you're not supposed to not sweat. That's the thing. You're gonna sweat. Like those other products. I think it's like I don't know what the hell is in it.
Dude, I don't
The
want
chemical
pit
that's in it.
stains. So you're essentially saying embrace the pit stains.
I mean, if anything, I feel like I almost sweat. I don't sweat profusely. Maybe in that little like transition phase, you sweat a lot more because you're used to not sweating with regular deodorant. But I think
I never
now
realized
I
that you
don't
were an
really.
armpit hippie.
I'm. I think it's aluminum. Aluminum is what is like keeps it and doesn't makes it almost like an antiperspirant, like the regular deodorants. And that, I don't know, I like not
You're
using
sounding like a
anymore.
true RFK supporter tonight. The aluminum, man.
Yeah.
No, but you're
I have
right.
a sign. I have a sign in here somewhere. Yeah, it'll give you it'll give you cancer. All right, so I need to stop using it.
No,
That's,
seriously, the last thing on that, I had like a rash at one point. I went to the doctor and she's like, "Yeah, it's the aluminum. It's bad for your skin. Just find some without it." Don't know how he got into that, but also on the cutting floor. I gotta go because it's Halloween and my wife's waiting for dinner. But on the cutting room floor, Las Vegas woman went to a YouTube concert and stole $50,000 from her sugar daddy. Yeah, that would suck. Like I feel like you don't go to U2 for you. You go for the girl. So you're sitting there while she goes to a bathroom break, listening to the Beautiful Day by Bono. Realize that $50,000 isn't taken from your Bank of America account. And Candace Cameron Bure, DJ Tanner from Full House under attack because Great American Network or whatever her network is, she wants to focus on traditional marriage, and allegedly that's not cool. What I say to that, I'll get your opinion in a second, but my thing is, if you're going to have networks that are, very LGBT centric and other things, and there should be space for Christians to have their world, to have normal, traditional, nuclear family television shows, like a Hallmark channel that has focus on traditional marriage, similar to other networks like Out having a focus on LGBT relations. Your thoughts?
Yeah, why not? That makes all the sense in the world. Why wouldn't it? But no, you're not allowed to do all these things anymore. You're not allowed to have. That's just absolutely preposterous that anyone says you wouldn't be allowed to make something. To your point,
It's not like she was making
category
like
for everything.
Trans hate material. She was just all she said was, and that's why she was huge on Hallmark as an actress, and she got kicked off of Hallmark. Real quick, this is Kirk Cameron's sister. If you listen to the Dom show from Growing Pains, he comes on sometimes. But Candace Cameron Bure played DJ Tanner in Full House. She was kicked off a Hallmark channel because she said something similar, that she wants more traditional marriage on the channel. And then she gets the content creative director of this other network. And then she says, focus on traditional marriage. And now the CEO of the network comes out and says that her opinions don't represent the network. And they're trying to distance themselves from her as well. So it's just like, what
Also,
the hell do you
can
want?
we stop with that? The whole, oh my God, we distance ourselves from those comments. Can't everyone just have their own comments? I don't know.
I think the exact words was Candace Cameron Bure. Her opinions do not reflect the views and the content decisions of the network or something like that, but she's a content director. Like she's the person you hired to make this
PR is
decision.
just the biggest scam. It's the biggest scam. Could you imagine if that was your job? That's all you have to say every day. Wait for someone to do something weird, and then you just say, "We do not align ourselves with the comments." That's
easy
all you
enough.
have to.
Just brush it off. All right, brother. Let's do this again next week. We're gonna start doing this regularly Tuesday at 7. I'm exhausted today, so I'm sorry. Usually I have a lot more energy, as you know me, but tonight I am dead beat as I move from Philadelphia over to Deptford. But I'll be much more excitable going forward. Anthony, what's coming up on the Nick Cale and Dawn Stenslin show? Anything you want to promote?
We're just gonna keep going through later. I think we have another GOP Philly candidate coming on tomorrow to round out. We've had a few on this week with Dawn, and with Nick Cale, we'll have Tony Bruno tomorrow, as we always do on Wednesdays. So tune in for that.
Carluccio today. What did you think of her?
I like her. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, she sounds common sense. She sounds like. I don't know. I think a lot of people that I like in government end up being in it because they almost feel like they have to. And I feel like she's kind of in that group. And she's also in a group where it seems like she's attacked a lot. And if you're attacked, in my opinion, there's probably a reason. So I think it's probably a good thing that she's fighting her fight. And I hope, hopefully everything goes well for her on election day.
Yeah, she was great with Dawn today. I was listening on the way in. Get that on podcast, and she'll be on with Dom tomorrow at 1 if you want to hear more from Carolyn Carluccio. She's the candidate for PA Supreme Court. So, Anthony, until next week, I'll see you later, brother. It's been a lot of fun.
See you, man. Thank you. Have a great
Adios.
day. Or great
You
night.
too.
What am I saying?